Good morning, everyone. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for joining us and for being part of our webinar today. My name is JC, and I've been part of the Picasa team for about 5 years. And before we get started, I thought we'd go over some logistical info. Make sure you are muted to avoid any background noise or static. And to ask a question, you can type it into the text box located on your screen. And we're going to be facilitating questions toward the end of the hour. And I'll actually let you know when it's time for our question and answer session. And due to the large number of attendees, we're going to try to get to all the questions, but we may not be able to, but we will do our best. So some quick introductions. Like I said, my name is JC, and I'm really looking forward to this webinar. I love Picasa, and it's definitely become an important part of my everyday life. Here with me in the room, we have Anthony, who is part of our test engineering team here at Google, and he's also an avid Picasa user and photographer. He's going to be helping me facilitate the question and answer session at the end of the hour. We also have Chris Guld from Geeks on Tour. Some of you may already know Chris as a resident Picasa expert, and Chris and her husband Jim hit the road in 2003 and have been traveling by RV across the country, sharing their computer expertise to fellow RVers. So Chris is going to show you some of Picasa's editing features, but before I pass the demo off to her, I'd like to show you some of Picasa's basics. Some of you may already know some of the stuff I'm going to show, but I want to make sure you understand some of Picasa's core fundamentals. So we're going to get started here. So you'll see the gallery view. This is what we call the view you're looking at right now. And this is the interface you will use to view and organize your photos. On the right, you can see thumbnails of my pictures, and on the left, you can see my folders. Picture my folders like physical shoe boxes of pictures. These folders, or shoe boxes, actually exist on my computer's hard drive. You'll also notice my albums. And you can picture my albums like physical photo albums. I can take photos from my folders or shoe boxes and put them into my photo albums for easier viewing. One thing about Picasa that's important to know is that Picasa does not actually store your pictures. You may be kind of wondering, well, if Picasa is not storing them, how is Picasa displaying them? How is Picasa looking at my folders? So we can see this through something called the Folder Manager. So if you follow along with me, we can go to Tools, Folder Manager, and this is kind of a behind-the-scenes look at how Picasa is looking at my folders. There's 3 options here: Scan Once, Scan Always, or Never Scan. The next topic I'd like to discuss is the difference between folders and albums, and how do we use albums. When I think about albums, I think about my mom. So my mom does not have a Gmail account, and she hardly even knows how to use the internet. So if I want to share photos with her of my 2 daughters, I have to do it the old-fashioned way, and that's to actually hand her the prints. Albums work great for sharing photos. So let me show you what I mean. Let's say I wanted to create an album, and we're going to call it Mom's Photo Order. So you see up here, I have an album called Mom's Photo Order. And what I do typically with my mom is every month I'll go through my photos and I'll add different photos that I like of my girls and send them to her. So I already have an album created. Let me show you what it looks like to add photos to an album. So I can click on any album, any folder in my gallery here, and I just hold down the Control key, click along to some of my favorites, and see this little blue icon? That's the album icon. I click on that, and I already have Mom's Photo Order, so I just click on it, and those photos are instantly added to that album. Makes it very easy. So once I have all the photos in this album, I click on the Shop button, which takes me to a list of print providers. I select the print provider of my choice, and the photos are sent to my mom to her mailbox, and she is very happy about that. So I also like to share photos with my two sisters. And unlike my mom, my sisters are on their computers all the time, but I can use albums to share with them as well. So I'm going to show you an example of that. Let's say I wanted to share this album I created called Summer Pics. There's quite a few different sharing options that I have available to me. First, I can just upload these pictures to a web album, which will allow me to show my photos online to my sisters. I can also email them and send them through Gmail. Or, my favorite, I can send them to my blog. Another thing that we can do with albums that's pretty fun is creating collages. So let's look at this album I created called Vacation Pics. Now all I need to do is just click on the collage icon, and only in a few seconds, a beautiful collage is created from my album of photos. And I can share this collage, just how I previously shared my album, with anybody I want to, using those same sharing features. So that's just a couple of basics, and we will go ahead and share our Help Center links with you at the end of the webinar, so you know where to go to get more information. But now I'm going to turn the floor over to Chris, and she's going to show you some cool features from our editing room. And remember, at the end of the session, we're going to do a 15 to 20 minute Q&A. So hold your questions till the end. Thank you so much. And here's Chris.
And I just need to unmute and share and share. And hello, everybody, and thank you, JC. And first of all, let me thank Google for inviting us here. It is just hard to describe how jazzed we are to be here and to be doing this webinar with you all. We, as JC mentioned, live full-time in our motorhome, and we travel all over the country. I take thousands of pictures. And I do get some pretty nice compliments on my pictures, but I have a dirty little secret. And that is that these pictures, I'll show you a little bit of a slideshow here. These aren't the pictures that I took. These are the pictures I wish I took. But it's because of Picasa that they look the way they do. So what do I mean? I mean, it wasn't somebody else that took these pictures. I did take them, but the picture I snapped was much different than the ones you're seeing in this slideshow. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to go to some unedited photos and show you how I make them look better using Picasa. So first of all, as JC said, this is the library view over here where you're seeing all your pictures, and you can just scroll around and see them all. I guarantee you, if you're just installing Picasa, you will find pictures you forgot you had because of the nice way that it views them. On the left-hand side, there are the folders that your pictures are actually in on your computer. If you double-click on a picture, then that one picture takes up the whole screen, and on the left, the folders are gone. What you have in its place is all the different options, and there's 3 tabs full of different options for fixing this one picture. So this picture was just snapped as we were driving down the road somewhere in the Midwest. I just love the wheat fields and the red barns. I saw them all over the place, and I really like this particular barn in the golden field. But the picture is not anything to send home because of the car window. I'm going to use this first button here. It's called Crop. And what you do is you drag the area that you want to keep. And this also, just as an aside, is a very good example of why you want to keep your camera on the highest resolution, because you might want to make a good picture out of just a little piece of it. And when I click Apply, all that's left of my picture is that barn and field, looking much nicer. One other thing I almost always do to a picture, and that's this button called I'm Feeling Lucky. Don't you love it? That's one of Google's trademarks, I think. I'm feeling lucky. When I click it, watch the color of the barn. There you go. That's the red that I saw when I was looking out the window and the gold of the field. So that's the crop button. Let me go on to the next picture. And I'm also going to use crop here, but it's just a slightly different purpose. So this is a picture of me and Jim on Fort Lauderdale Beach, about ready to go scuba diving on our kayaks, one of our favorite things to do. But I've been asked for a picture just of me at the beach for somebody, and this is the picture I like. So what I'm going to do is crop, and I'm just going to get me. Now notice that it's not letting me make an unusual size. Why is that? It's because I have it set to 4 by 6. If I change this to manual, I can now drag any size crop I want. If you are going to print this, it's important to let Picasa limit you to what size you're going to print. Otherwise, the print won't look real good. You'll have a lot of white space around it. But I'm just going to use this for the web for something. I would probably then export this to create a whole other picture that is just of me. A wonderful thing to know about Picasa, even though I have cropped Jim out, I might want him back sometime. All I have to do is click Undo Crop, and now the whole picture is back. You never lose any of your original when you're working with Picasa. Next one, I'm just going along these buttons and red eye. So here, I'm going to zoom in and let you see a little bit more. Here are our hosts here at Google. We went out to dinner. That was so nice. But the flash made these red eyes. And that probably happens to some pictures of yours, I'll bet you. Picasa makes it so easy. You just click the red eye button. Just one click. That's it. And it will find the red eyes. Oh, look at that. I didn't notice that I had red eyes, too. It highlights them if it got the right spots, which it usually does. All you have to do is click Apply. Done. That's red eye. Another feature is Straighten. You ever taken a picture like this? I'll bet you have. You know, you're just snapping real quick and don't realize that you got tilted and your horizon is crooked. This was a great day. We spent kayaking on the Colorado River between Arizona and California. And I want to make it look better. Click Straighten. We get a grid of what straight is. And then there's this slider. Now, you don't have to know which way to slide it. You can just drag it one way and then the other. When you see that the horizon lines up with one of the grid points, you click Apply. Voila. And I'll always do an I'm Feeling Lucky. You know, sometimes it makes a huge difference, sometimes it makes a tiny difference, but I'll always check and see what it does. Next one, this is my example of I'm Feeling Lucky. This picture was pretty dark. One click, light and bright. And on some screens, I didn't even see this second deer in the background here because it was so dark. And here's another example of I'm Feeling Lucky. This is White Sands National Monument. I'll bet you thought it was snow. Looks like snow, but it's not. That is sand. White sands. It was really a lot whiter than that. This is a little more gray than I would like. One click on I'm Feeling Lucky. The sand is whiter. The sky is bluer. Much nicer picture. My next sample, this is a seminar that we gave at an RV rally, Family Motor Coach Association rally, and it's kind of dark. I'm going to try I'm Feeling Lucky on it. Didn't do much of anything, did it? Well, if the point is to get it lighter, here is the fill light. I just drag it over, And now it is much lighter. I got to do something else with this picture, though. I don't need all that ceiling in there. So I'm going to crop. And about to there. I think that gives the idea. Now you can actually see that that's Jim up there in the front giving a seminar. And next, this example is to show you about retouching. Now when we say retouch, it's not major retouching. I mean, you can't use it with Picasa, take one person out of a picture and put another person in. You can't make composites of pictures. If you want to do that, you need to use another software. But I think that's wonderful because it makes Picasa fast and easy. And this retouch tool is very handy for little blemishes. A quick retouch, and you get a circle. Now, that circle is bigger than I need, so I'm going to adjust the brush size over here and make it smaller. Now it just fits that. Now I can click, and it kind of blends in the surrounding areas, but if you move a little bit, what you're doing is saying, I want the original spot to be filled with something over here. When you click, it's done. The mole is gone. In its place is the color where your second click was. And you apply. I've been able to use that to get rid of some bug splatters on the windshield once in a while when I take a picture out the window. Just simple stuff. Here's an example of using Retouch for something a little bit more complex, but not a whole lot, and that's glare in the glasses. Happens all the time. One thing people always ask me, how do I get rid of glare in the glasses? Well, Retouch will help. It's not perfect, but it's certainly easy, and it will help. Now I need my circle to be a little bit bigger. I'll adjust that. And the point is, click on the spot that needs a different fill. That's one click. Now move your mouse to a spot that has a fill that looks good, and that's the second click. I'm going to do that over on this side too. Click on the spot that needs a fill. Click on a spot that has the color you want. And it might take a couple times, you know, the moving around and finding better fill. And as I say, it's not perfect, but that is a lot better than the glare that was there before. I like the Retouch tool. Next example, this one is to talk about text. This picture was taken in Saguaro Lake, just outside of Phoenix. Now, there's not much in the way of a wintry scene that you're going to get in Phoenix, but they did tie this pretty red and green bow, and we figured this would make a great Christmas card picture. So I want to put the words Merry Christmas on there. That's what Text tool is for. Text, and type anywhere you want. And it remembers the font and the colors from the last time you did this. I recently did this same example, but you can choose any text, any size, any colors that you want. Here's where you choose the font. And notice all I'm doing is rolling over the fonts, and I see the different type styles. I think I like that one. But I don't like it to be black and red. I want the inside of the text, the fill, to be red, and I can pick up the color from the palette, or I can pick it up right from the picture. If I want it to be red, I say I want it to be the red of this bow. Notice that my mouse has turned into this little eyedropper. And you can just point to a color on your picture. When you click, the fill has been made that color. But secondly, you can specify an outline for your text. And that's this part right here. So I click on that color, and I say I want to make it green. Now, I could pick a green from the palette, but once again, I think I'd rather make sure that it matches exactly the colors in my picture. So I'm going to pick a green from this bow. There. I think I'll make it bold. Yeah. And make the outline a little bit wider. So I'm dragging this slider over here. When you're done, you click Apply. If you say, oops, I need to make it a little bit smaller so it fits on the picture, all you do is click on the text and your tools are back. So this little orange handle here, when I drag in, it makes it smaller. I drag out, it makes it bigger. So I need to make it about right. And you can drag down and put it at an angle. You can also drag on an edge and move it to where you want. So there's my text picture. And if I ever want the picture without the text, all you have to do is uncheck the Show Text box. Pretty nice. So that's pretty much all your basic fixes there, the ones I use all the time anyway. Now I want to go on to the Tuning tab. Tuning is all about light and shadow. This picture was taken somewhere in Pennsylvania near the Delaware Water Gap. And we happened upon it. We just turned around this corner and we see these standing stones. Wow, how cool is that? It's a place called Columnsill, and the public is welcome to wander around amongst these standing stones. The pretty part of the picture, I think, is the long shadows. I want even more shadows. So there's a slider for shadows. I just drag it over to the right, and it makes the dark more dark. I can drag it all the way over to the right. I think maybe that's a bit too much. So I drag it over somewhere around midway. I like that. Just deeper shadows. And I haven't mentioned about saving or not saving. Notice I have not been saving. But if I go back to any of these pictures, you'll see that what I see is the picture with the changes that I made. Picasa remembers what you did as long as you're using Picasa to look at them. If you're using anything else, then you're going to need to save because the other programs are going to see the original. They don't know what edits have been done in Picasa. Very easy to do. You just file save. But since I use Picasa for everything, I don't need to. And I usually don't save. So here's my next sample. This was taken at an RV park, a very beautiful place called Thousand Trails in Indian Lakes, Indiana. And I took this picture in the warm sunlight of early morning. And I really like that warm orange color. But I want it to be, you guessed it, more orange, more warm. And that's this color temperature slider. So if you go to the right, you're making it warmer. To the left, you're making it cooler, which is that blue. So I want to move it over to the right, about like so. And that just looks like an even warmer sunrise. One other thing I'm going to do to this picture, and that's over on the effects. And I do it to most everything, and it's called Sharpen. Just watch the wheels on this RV. You really can't see the edges. That's just the way digital photography works. Edges are soft, and I think it looks crisper if we sharpen them a bit. Now, the correct way to use Sharpen is to be in 100% view. There's a button down here at the bottom that says 1:1, and that shows you your picture in 100% view rather than size to fit your screen. All right, now look at those tires. And I can put the Sharpen amount up higher, and you should see just all the lines be a little bit crisper. However, when I'm looking at it the normal way, I really can't see that too much. So I like doing this little shortcut cheating way. They tell me here at the Picasa group that I'm not supposed to do it this way, but I still do. If you hold down the Shift key and click Sharpen, now you see the crispness in this resized view. And I like that. This is the way I look at most of my pictures. Notice the nice sharp lines. Now, it cannot take an out-of-focus picture and make it in focus. That's not what it is. But it takes a good picture and it just makes it crisper, makes the lines sharper. So that's Sharpen. I think there's one more thing back on the tuning tab here I want to show you. Ah, yes, this picture. Did you know that there is a Spam museum? Well, we just had to visit. It's up in Minnesota. And notice how we're inside here, and the lighting is such that things are kind of yellowish. Now, if you're really good with your camera, you understand white balance. You may have adjusted your camera so that this wouldn't happen. But why bother? Picasa can fix it for you after the fact with this thing called Neutral Color Picker. If I just click on that and then move my mouse over to the picture, you see I have that eyedropper again. The purpose with this one is to find something that you know is supposed to be white. Now, I think this wall is supposed to be white, but I know his T-shirt is supposed to be white. If I click on that, it says, oh, that's supposed to be white. I'll make that white, and whatever I did to make that T-shirt white, I'll do to the colors throughout the picture. So yes, now the wall is white. Looks much better. And now this one. What a pretty little park this was. This is a city park in Winterset, Iowa, near where they filmed the bridges of Madison County. The covered bridges were gorgeous here, but I liked just this simple landscape near where we parked our RV that had this rail fence and this old tree and a real green. But I remember it being a lot greener than that. I'm going to try I'm Feeling Lucky, see if Picasa sees it as greener also. Oh, that's a little bit better. But I think it can be better yet. One thing, I like to do a sharpen on it. I'm going to do that shift sharpen. And notice how the bark in the tree just looks a lot crisper now. You can really see the lines in the tree. I like that, so I will apply it. Now, if you go to tuning, this is something I like to do. I like to do a little bit of shadows. In some pictures, not all, but in some pictures, I feel like that just gives it a richer feel to increase the shadows. So there, that's good. I like that. And now we're on, that's pretty much all of tuning. Now on effects. Effects are some fun stuff. These are things you can just play with and see what you like. So this one, I think, is a good example of using this special effect called focal black and white. And notice the little thumbnails. So this is trying to show you that focal black and white means the picture will be black and white, but there's a little spot of color. Click on it, and that's what happens to your picture. There's a spot of color. The spot of color follows these crosshairs. So as I move the crosshairs around, the spot of color moves around. I'm going to put it on the smaller rows, and I'm going to make the size a little bit smaller, so just that rows. And click Apply. So that's kind of that's a fun one there, to make black and white roses and have one of them be red. This was a day spent at Mackinac Island in northern Michigan. What a pretty place, and I just love these white Adirondack chairs. But if I could take this picture over again, I would put it on more telephoto. I would want these chairs to get closer to me. I don't need all this grass. I can't take the picture over again, but I can get the same results using crop. So I'll just drag an area where those chairs are in the foreground, a lot closer. I like that. I'm also going to click on I'm Feeling Lucky. And I think that's good enough for that picture. Now this one, I use this one to point out an effect called soft focus. What I'm interested in this picture is this pirate's face. This was at the Lobster Festival in Maine. Lots of pirate stuff going on in Maine. And I don't care about all this background, but I don't want to crop it. I don't want a small picture of just his face. I'm going to use this soft focus, and that means put the whole picture out of focus, but just put a little piece in focus wherever I move those crosshairs. So I'm going to move the crosshairs right to his face, and still some of this background is in focus, so I'm going to make the soft focus size be smaller, so it's just his face. I kind of like that. And the amount slider means how out of focus do you want the rest of it. I can make it completely out of focus to all the way in focus. I'll put it somewhere right there. I just think that's fun. Kind of makes a cool picture there. The pirate looking out of the fog. And what's my next sample? My next sample is of moonrise in Arches National Park, Utah. What a gorgeous place. The moonrise made this eerie glow. If you want to enhance that, there's a feature called glow that will make the glow even a little bit more. And you can change the intensity and change the radius, change how far out from the actual glow the glow goes. And apply. I don't use that one too much, but I thought this was a cool example of making the glow just glow a little bit more. Here's one of my favorites. I am now using saturation in most of my pictures. I like this example. This is Niagara Falls, and if you've ever been there, you know that there's always a rainbow. There's a rainbow because of the mist coming off the falls. But I think that rainbow should be even brighter. That's what saturation is about. So this button right here, you just click it once, and you get a slider. It's already put saturation on more. You should see it's a little bit brighter, but if you want it even brighter yet, you can drag the slider over. Now, you can go too far and make the picture look unreal, but if you do it just right, you can make it look like you saw a really amazing rainbow. And click Apply. So now I'm going to use kind of a lot of the features I've just shown you to enhance pictures that I took that just need some help. This is a picture we took recently when we were driving down I-95 in North Carolina, I think. And the fall colors were just starting. But I don't see a whole lot of fall colors in here. I think I can make this look a lot better. I also don't like this paper mill in the background. So first thing I'm going to do is crop it. Where was crop? Anybody remember? It was on the Basic Fixes tab. And crop. So I drag what I want to keep. I don't want that. So right about there. Press Enter, and that's what I get. I'm feeling lucky. I always try and I'm feeling lucky. Ooh, and that has definitely gotten better. But what was the feature that gives me more color? Very good. It was saturation. Which tab was it on? Effects. So effects and saturation, and increase it a little bit more. All right. Now that's starting to look like what I remember seeing as I'm looking out the window. I remember thinking, ooh, look at the fall colors. Now I can see them. One more thing, though. Look at this blah sky. Oh, I need to straighten this, don't I? Straighten was back on Basic Fixes. Straighten, and there. Now my horizon's lined up. But what a yucky-looking sky, gray sky. Skies are supposed to be blue. There's a feature right here. The effect called Graduated Tint. Click on it. And with a slightly blue sky, it will be a little bit bluer now. This sky needs even more help. So I'm going to pick a color. Click on all these colors, and you can get really wild here if you want to have fun with it. But I want it to look kind of real, so I'm going to pick a blue right about there. This crosshairs is telling you where the blue ends, so you can move it up, and you can move it down. In this case, I think it needs to be right at the horizon. And then shade, you can make it a little bit darker. And feather means how sharp is the bottom edge. If you put it all the way down, you get a straight line, or feather makes it very soft. And apply. I like that picture. Here's one snapped out the window. I don't need all this bridge stuff in here, so I'm going to crop it. I just want that ship. And it's a little crooked. I'll straighten it. And watch the red and the white when I click I'm Feeling Lucky. Ooh, much better. This is in Mystic, Connecticut, and this picture does it much more justice than the one that I just snapped out the window. Same thing with the bridge over to the Mississippi River in Minneapolis. Very, very pretty bridge. It needs to be the whole focus of the picture. So I crop it. I'm feeling lucky. I like that picture much better. And here we are. This is our home. And I don't get to take a picture of it on the road very often because, as you can imagine, when we're on the road, I'm usually inside it. Whenever we're on a nice little country, quiet road like this, I like to get out and take a picture, but this can be a lot better. I need to crop it. And I'm feeling lucky. And I think it could use a little bit of darkening. And that is how you can make all your pictures look a lot better with just a few clicks. Now, you can do this with a lot of different software. I used to use other software before Picasa, but it took me hours to do what I've just shown you in about 25 minutes. Back to you.
Thank you, Chris. That was great. Before we move on to the Q&A portion, do you want to mention your Picasa tip of the week?
Of course. What JC is talking about is if you go to geeksontour.com, there's all sorts of information there and tutorials on Picasa, but specifically there is a way you can just click on Picasa Tip of the Week, put in your email, and I will send you a Picasa tip every week, and that is completely free.
I love that. Awesome. Okay, so thank you very much, and make sure to check out Chris and Jim on their website, www.geeksontour.com, and make sure to visit us on our website as well, www.picasa.google.com. Thanks, everyone, and now we're going to go ahead and move on to our question and answer portion.